guys. So I wanted to do this video because a beautiful subscriber of mine named Cami asked me to do the story. And I think it is a great story to share because there are a lot of young, vulnerable women out there who think it's cool to date older men. And as sad as it is, there are a lot of predators out here in our society. Older men who prey upon young, innocent, vulnerable young ladies who are susceptible to the charms of the older, more experienced predators out there. And the Word of God is meant to protect you from certain dangers and premature death. And one of the commandments that God has given us is, "Thou shalt not commit adultery." And people always think, oh, the commandments are there to punish us and to rule over our life and control us and whoop de whoop de boo. But in reality, as adultery can lead to tragic deaths because somebody always ends up angry in the situation. Either it's the wife who is enraged or it's the perpetrator who wants to kill the mistress to cover up the affair, or the mistress who has this jealousy of the spouse and wants to kill the spouse to get the spouse out of the way to keep the person that they've been having the affair with. And this is a very horrible, sad tragedy of this young lady, Kania Brunson, who was only 20 years old, guys. She was a 20-year-old girl who had many dreams. And she had gone to beauty school. She wanted to be a beautician. She had all of these dreams and aspirations. And she allowed her heart to take the best of her. And she had an affair with an older man. She knew he was married. But she was so young, so vulnerable. And his words and his charm was able to manipulate her into entering a very dangerous love affair. Adultery, you guys, never ends well. And that is why God has told us not to commit adultery, because he wanted to protect us. All of the scriptures are there to protect you, to prolong your life on this earth. And if you start looking at some of these stories, you'll be able to link them and think, oh, that's why God told us to not do this, or that's why God told us not to do this, because he was trying to protect you. And no fault of this young lady. She was 20 years old. She was probably very innocent. This man probably said all the words in the book to charm her, and he knew how to manipulate her, because that's why he particularly targeted this young lady. And the way she died was very horrific. So let's talk about this sad story. So sad, guys. So authorities in Milwaukee have brought a slew of charges against two men that are involved in this murder. And she was a 20-year-old woman who allegedly notified the wife of the man she was having the affair with, which is why he responded in brutally murdering this woman, guys, in the worst way. According to CBS 58, police on September 24th found the body of Kania Brunson in an alley. The victim was reportedly tied and shot before her body was set on fire. And the thing is, she was reportedly in the car with this guy. People saw her screaming. Someone saw him get on top of her as she was screaming for help, and he cut her throat. Then he, tortured her in that way, shot her and burnt her, set her on fire while someone assisted in the murder. There's two men arrested and charged in the connection of her murder. One was identified as Sultan Sharif, and the other one is Johnny Allen Hopgood. The latter is Sharif's brother-in-law. Isn't that crazy? This is crazy. Sharif is the older man that preyed upon this 20-year-old girl. and got her to get involved in this affair, knowing he was married. And then the very brother of his wife assists in the murder, y'all. This is messy. The brother-in-law. That means the man's wife's brother assisted in killing this mistress. This is a crazy story, y'all. All because she told the wife. These stories never end well. They never end well. That's why you protect yourself by not getting involved in these messy triangles like this. The police said Brunson and Sharif had been having an affair, adding that the two met on the day she was killed. So she met with him. And the thing is, she could have never predicted that he was going to become violent like this. Her being young and naive didn't really realize what she was dealing with and the dangers that she was putting herself in by getting into these type of affairs. So she didn't really anticipate it. But the thing is, people can turn crazy overnight just by, for this instance, when he's trying to cover up his wrongdoing and she goes and tells the wife, which made this guy fly in a rage, in a complete rage, losing all sight of rationality. Sharif is also said to have gotten in touch with Brunson's mother the week before her murder. So he talked to this 20-year-old girl's mother before the murder. I wonder what he said to her. He goes on to say, I want to be done messing with your daughter. Okay, so he goes and contacts this 20-year-old's mother and says, I want to be done messing with your daughter, but she's reaching out to my wife. The victim's mother, Jennifer Meadows, told the news outlet. So I wonder if the mother knew that her daughter was sleeping with this married man the whole time. And if she did, the question is, why didn't she warn her daughter of the dangers of adultery and affairs like this? Because the mother had the responsibility to warn the daughter because the daughter was probably young and naive, didn't realize the danger she was in. But the question is, too, young women like this, they think they're grown. She is 20 years old, so she is grown, basically. But they don't want to listen to their parents. So the mother might have already warned her about the guy. Her mother probably was like, I don't like this dude. He's number one, he's too old for you. Number two, he's married. Stay away from him. But that doesn't mean the daughter would listen. So that's another thing. Very crazy story, guys. Crazy story. Police located the victim's body after Sharif's friend contacted authorities to report that he had seen Sharif and Brunson in the suspect's car. He said he noticed Sharif was on top of Brunson in the car. He's on top of her. Adding, the female stated, he cut my throat, and she was screaming and pleading for help. So he was murdering her in the vehicle as witnesses saw the whole thing unfold as he's cutting her throat. On top of this woman, he tortured her. She really suffered, y'all, in the last few moments of her life. And then he further dishonored this young lady's body by burning her and setting her on fire, and shot her too. Shot her as well. The two suspects were not at the crime scene when police found Brunson's remains. She was everything to me. She was everything, and this is the most hurtful feeling. That's what her mother said. And though the two men have since been arrested and charged with her daughter's killing, Meadows said she wants other individuals who allegedly provided false information to be held accountable. So there were a lot of people involved in covering up this murder. It was like a whole team affair. I wonder if Sharif's wife was among those people who was covering up the killing. Sharif's wife was among the multiple people police interviewed per CBS. She allegedly claimed her husband was with her on the night of the killing. So she's covering for her husband, y'all. She is obstructing justice, and she's therefore lying to the officers, which means she can also be on the hook of being an accessory after the fact or an obstruction of justice, of an investigation. So she's covering for her husband. She is therefore in a conspiracy with this murder. This is crazy how all these people, that's why I'm saying love affairs are never, 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 never a safe thing, period. It always ends in some form of tragedy. Love can make you do some crazy things, things you would never imagine. You got a wife who is in conspiracy, you got a husband, and you got a brother-in-law, all involved in this young 20-year-old beautician's tragic death. This is sad, y'all. Video evidence showed her claim was false and a criminal complaint stated. So it looks like there's video evidence showing her claim was false. They have evidence showing otherwise, that he was not with her the night of the tragedy. And he was, in fact, in the car with the victim, and witnesses saw him brutally murder her in the car on top of the girl. And they think that they're going to be out here and live their normal life after they, helped with this. All these people helped with killing this girl. This is so sad. Brunson's stepfather, Cameron Meadows, also re-echoed his wife's sentiments. He said, I just want the same thing that my wife wants. I want justice, and I want it to be full extent. It's unbelievable. It's still hard to believe, she's not here with us. Sharif's charges include first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and also charged with mutilating, harboring, and aiding a felon. But the biggest lesson we have to learn about this is affairs never end well. That's why God talks about not committing adultery, because he already foreshadowed the dangers associated with it. And the father talks a little bit about her, so let's see what she was like so we can learn more about Kenia. He says she wanted a lot of things out of life. Father says, a daughter killed a week ago.
Standing all day can take a serious toll on your feet, causing painful bunions to form and preventing you from performing your job well.
I just pray I would never want to let nobody ever feel this type of pain.
Family and friends united by pain, gathering to grieve the loss of 20-year-old Kenia Brunson.
It's terrible that we have to do this. I would have never thought that I would be burying my daughter before she buries me.
Brunson's parents say she could light up a room with her smile. She loved helping others. Her father tells me she just signed up for CNA classes.
She wanted everybody to stay close and wanted a lot of things out of life. She was going for it.
Dreams cut short. Police say Brunson, the victim of a homicide. Police say they found her body near North Palmer. Her father tells me her abandoned car was found about a mile away from here. Here, where police made the discovery. A week later, all that remains, flowers left by a stranger to Brunson.
It's just terrible that someone could go through that, and then to know that they probably went through it by themselves and not had me or her brother or my husband or anyone that she knew that could be there, at a time like this.
So I wasn't going to stop until I find out who did this to my daughter.
Keys, WISN 12 News.
So this is so sad, so it's more of a warning to our young people. Young ladies, be very careful and wary of older men. This is something my mom taught me growing up, and my older sister used to think that my mom was just being controlling and irrational, and she always warned us about the older men out there. And now looking at stories like this, I understand what she's saying now. That when you're younger and you're inexperienced, you become a target to these older, more experienced men who prey upon these young, vulnerable women. And they can manipulate these young ladies in the most sinister ways and make them believe that what they're doing that is really wrong and is truly, they make these women believe that it's right and that they love these young ladies and they're able to charm them. And this young lady, her being young and being so moved by her emotions, she didn't recognize the dangers of being in this type of love triangle. And then people can do crazy things. This wife is involved in this woman's tragedy murder by lying to the cops. It's sick. She lost all sight of rationality to cover up for a man who cheated on her. You would think And women do this all the time. We tend to blame the woman when reality, the woman doesn't owe us anything. It's the man who made the covenant with you in the first place, the covenant to be faithful and loyal and committed to you when he entered into a marriage with you. Not the woman. She doesn't have her duty to respect you, but for some reason, people, especially women, do it. They tend to go after the other woman. It's just terrible we have to do this. I would never thought that I would be burying my daughter before she buries me. That's what the mother said. And I wanted to get more from the mother to find out if the mother warned this girl about this man. It wouldn't have been a fault to her own, because you can't control these kids these days anyway. They do what they want. They said she lit up a room with her smile, even if you hadn't met or didn't know Kania. When you met Kania, you would fall in love with her. She's going to make you smile. She's going to crack a joke. You just want to know who she is, and a bright aura around her. Bright light, said Bruson's father. He said his daughter loved helping others, and that she had just signed up for certified nursing assistant classes. So she was trying to be a nursing assistant. There was also another source saying that she had completed beauty school too. So she was having dual careers. She's very, very goal-oriented, but got caught up in her young emotions, that estrogen and all the hormones flying all over the place, and she made a sad decision, but her decision can serve as a warning to a lot of other young ladies out there who can fall prey to these older married men who just want to use you for your body. They don't love you, and they're not going to leave their husband. Any woman out there who is having an affair with a married man has to understand that reality. It doesn't matter what the man says. And if the man says he's in a verge of getting a divorce, that is a lie. You never listen, that's a lie. The only way you would date a man who's married is if you have to wait until he is legally divorced and he shows you those divorce papers that's signed by the court and stamped by the clerk showing that the divorce was finalized. If it's not finalized, don't get involved, because you are literally setting yourself up for danger of possibly losing your life. A lot of these stories that I share is meant to, as warning signs to all of us, to help us make decisions in our life that can prolong our life, because on this earth, we only get one life, and life can be snuffed away so quickly, and you don't have time to anticipate and know when your moment will come. But you can make rational choices from the stories we learn about that can hopefully help prolong your life on this earth. And this young lady wanted a lot of things out of life. She had a lot going for her. But unfortunately, she got involved in a very sticky situation, in a love affair, which never ends well, guys. They never end well. Somebody always ends up hurt, guys. It's a dangerous situation. That's why God says, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. You have to be able to utilize discernment in these love affairs, because charm can be sly, and it can woo you into getting involved in a very sticky situation that could cost you your life. And you can't predict these things sometimes. Sometimes the people can be so charming, you wouldn't even know that they can end up ending your life later on down the line. That's why they say a wolf will be in sheep's clothing, because they will appear to be an angel to you, and they will charm you and use all the right words and all the right gifts, and they will love bomb you with all these the attention and flowers and gifts. And if you're young and vulnerable, like a 20-year-old young lady like this, you can be conned into a love affair. And then Kania went and told the wife, which further enraged this man. And even if you tell the wife, you're not really doing any justice, because the wife is going to hate you too. She thought that she was going to get back at this man because she realized she was tricked. After having this affair with this man for so long, he didn't leave his wife, because that's what always happens. They're not going to leave the wife. It doesn't matter what they say to you. They're not going to leave the wife. It doesn't matter any little story they tell you about how she's not a good wife and they're tired of her and they're miserable and whoop dee doop dee doo. And none of it's true. None of it's true. They're not going to leave her. And this young 20-year-old finally realized that. And when she realized she was played and that all he did was use her for her body and that's all she was an object to him, and he was done with the object, got bored with that, and was ready to move on to the next object. And she realized that she wanted to get revenge. And so she went to the wife to tell the wife what happened. But that doesn't help anyone in the end because all it does is enrage the wife, and now she's mad at the girl also. So now you got two different angry people who are not thinking rationally and they're thinking with their emotions. And so they use violence. And this man had the audacity, y'all, to go and talk to this victim's mother, telling her he wanted to be done with her. So it makes me question, did the mother know that her daughter was having an affair with this older man? And why didn't the mother, we don't know the whole essence of everything, but did the mother ever warn her daughter about the dangers of affairs like this and how they can be, that love triangles can be deadly? And if she did, really, would it have made a difference at all? Probably not, guys, because how many times we hear about these tragedies where the girl was warned by the mother, by the friends, by the cousin, by everybody, and they don't listen. They don't listen. They don't listen because the emotions can be so powerful. The hormones involved. When it becomes physical, the women become so engulfed in these men that they lose sight of rationality, and it doesn't matter what the man does. They are so controlled by their emotions and their lust and obsession now with this man and attachment to this man that they just lose sight of rationality. Not blaming this young lady. This is a sad tragedy. Her life was snuffed from her prematurely. But it can serve as a lesson to other young girls out there to be very, very careful with these older men. Very, very careful. And another lesson, do not get involved with a married man, period. It doesn't matter what they say to you. It doesn't matter how much they charm you. It always ends bad. It always does, guys. You may be lucky to be the one that gets out of it alive, but a lot of times we hear about these passion cases where somebody ends up dead. Somebody always ends up dead or hurt. All right. So this 20-year-old's dreams were cut short, her father said. Her abandoned car was located about a mile away. They discovered her body near North Palmer Street. A week later, all that remains are flowers there now. And it's just terrible that someone could go through that, and to know that she probably went through it by herself, like her mother was saying. And they already said the cause of death, of course, was a homicide. This woman was cut up, stabbed, shot, and set on fire. That's how tragedy, and then left there as a pile of remains. That's how he treated this young lady. He treated her like trash. He used her up, and when he got tired of this young lady, he brutally murdered her and just threw her away. That's how a lot of these older men see these women. It's very sad. Young lady had her whole life. And these are the two sick men involved. The brother-in-law right here. And he not even cute, y'all. Let's look at this dude. After she contacts wife, he goes and kills her. Okay.
California teachers strongly oppose Prop 27. 27 would send 90% of profits into the pockets of out-of-state gambling corporations. But not a single penny would go toward California public schools. Please vote no on 27.
Criminal charges filed this week, 1 month after the life of a 20-year-old Milwaukee woman came to a violent end. CBS 58's Michelle Fiore sat down with the victim's parents today, and she joins us now live in the studio. Michelle.
Bill, Kanaya Brunson's mom calls her daughter her best friend. Two men face charges, but the criminal complaint points to lies others told, and for that, Kanaya Brunson's mom is pressing ahead. Kanaya Brunson turned 20 in June, a joy to be around.
She can make you smile right away.
Brunson wanted to be an orthodontist or a vet, later learning she was good at making others look good, so she enrolled in beauty school.
She actually taught me how to put on eyelashes and do my eyebrows.
This is Brunson leaving home the morning of September 24th, texting her mom a smiley.
I wasn't even there 30 minutes and they called and told me her car was found. And I knew then, at that point, like something happened to her.
The day of the murder, police say Brunson met up with a married man she'd been seeing, Sultan Sharif. Strangely, he'd reached out to Brunson's mom a week earlier.
He goes on to say, I want to be done messing with your daughter, but she's reaching out to my wife.
September 24th, a friend of Sharif's called 911 after he says he saw Sharif on top of the victim in Sharif's car, and that the female stated, "He cut my throat." She was screaming and pleading for help. Police didn't locate the two then, but hours later were called to an alley near Keefe and Palmer where Brunson had been tied, shot, and then set on fire.
She was everything to me. She was everything, and this is the most hurtful feeling.
Police interviewed a number of people, including Sharif's wife, who claimed he'd been with her the night of the murder, which the complaint says was debunked through video evidence.
And they think that they're going to be out here and live their normal life after they, helped with this.
Sharif's brother-in-law, Johnny Allen Hopgood, is charged as an accomplice.
It's still hard to believe that she's not, here with us.
Bond for Sultan Sharif is $500,000, and for Johnny Allen Hopgood, it's $50,000. Both are due back in court next week. Reporting live in the studio, Michelle Fiore, CBS 58 News.
That is so sad, y'all. He literally, it was a family affair, y'all. That's how these affairs end, y'all. They get involved in these affairs, and it becomes a family affair to tragically end the life of the mistress or the person involved in the affair, to protect the marriage, basically. This woman was tortured in her last moments. While she was alive, she had to endure very gruesome pain as he was stabbing her, as he sliced her throat, as he whatever else he did to her. Then, to ensure this woman was dead, he shot her. Then he set her on fire. This was a very horrific murder to this young lady's life. And the sad part is, within moments, you can see her on the camera. She's going to go see she's going to go out and she talks to her mother, and within a few minutes, she's gone. And the sick part is, it was a whole family affair that caused this murder of this young lady. You got the brother-in-law involved, y'all. We got the wife covering up, lying for the cheating husband that was having the affair. So she's supporting the affair by protecting this man that cheated. That's the thing. We need to do different things differently, ladies. If your husband is cheating, you need to have enough dignity for yourself to get out of that relationship. Don't condone what he does and then further endorse what he does by protecting him when he brutally murders the mistress. Come on now, make it make sense. She covers up this man's crime after he done cheated on her and then turned around and killed the woman he cheated on her with. It doesn't make sense. She got mad at the girl who told her what was going on. That's what happens to our emotions. Don't think rationally. It's very sad, y'all. The way this young lady was taken out. She suffered. This girl suffered, and for what? It's sad. Sometimes these people have to go through these tragedies so that other lives can be preserved by learning from the tragedies. So sad, y'all. But yeah, I wanted to go over this story because a subscriber asked me to go over this one. And I looked at it and I thought, this is a good lesson for us all. Because we get so caught up with these people. And it could be very tempting. I'm not going to lie. It could be tempting when the guy lies to you or the girl lies to you and says, oh, I'm tired of my husband or my boyfriend. oh, sorry, I'm tired of my husband, or the guy says I'm tired of my wife and I'm gonna divorce her because she does A, B, and C and D. These men are very convincing, y'all, or the women. They're convincing. They make it really look like they're done with the spouse and that they want out of the relationship, when in reality it's a lie. I'm telling you, it's tempting because they make it sound so good. They do. They make it sound like they're really over the person. I almost was tempted, y'all. There was this guy, and he told me that he filed for divorce, and he was done with the marriage, and he didn't want to be with his wife anymore. But there was a lot of red flags I saw. Number one, I'm gonna tell you all the red flags I saw. But it was tempting because the guy was so charming. I had to really pray my way out of that and block that dude. But let me tell you what happened. So the dude was so charming, first of all. When I first met him, the first thing I asked him was, "Are you married?" He lied to me and said no. Red flag number one, right? As I kept talking to him, he admitted that he was married. Then he said he met, how he talked about the circumstances, about how he met the young lady. And he basically met her, and within a month he married her. So number one, I already saw a red flag because it looked like this guy is moved by his emotions, and he is very impulsive and makes irrational decisions to make a lifelong commitment to a woman he just met in a month. So I already was not feeling the dude. I'm like, the dude's toxic. But yet he was so charming. So I can get why these young ladies can be lured into these relationships. I almost was one of those, but I'm not, because I prayed. But anyway, let me tell you what happened. So I was like, oh man, this dude seemed really cool. He was so sweet, y'all. He was so kind. And then, you know what? He starts telling me about how abusive his wife is and how she's always out with these other men. And, she just treats him so bad. And the fact that I saw that he was married, I already knew, look, this is a dangerous situation. Love triangles don't end well. So I'm ready, like, this ain't it. Then he's like, oh, don't worry. I'm about to divorce her. She's always with these other always with these other men. She doesn't respect me. Whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, right? Okay. So I'm like, all right, he gonna divorce her. But I'm already like, nope. I told him, look, we can't get together until I actually see the signed certified divorce papers. We could be friends, but that's the only it, because I got to see those signed divorce papers before we get involved, right? But then his story wasn't adding up, because I happened to glance over his phone when we hung out together. I was like, we can hang out. We went for golfing and stuff to hang out. And I looked over at his phone just randomly. I'm not the type of person that looks at people's phone. But just, you happen to look over and you see a phone or whatever. But as I look in the phone, there's recent photos of him with the wife, all cuddled up at a concert. And so, me being the attorney, I'm always going to investigate. So I said, when was this photo taken? Because he looked very cold, cut up with this woman that he claims to be over, and claims he wants a divorce, and claims she's so abusive and she cheats. So I'm like, well, when was this photo taken? Because they look real cuddled up in relationship to me. It don't look like they divorcing anytime soon. He says, oh, I just took this picture, it was like a couple weeks ago, yo. It was like maybe. So I met the guy back in this summer, like, when did this happen? July. And he had taken that photo July 4th. So it was like a week or so before I met him, right? So I was like, this dude lying. My instinct was like, he lying. He not about to divorce this girl. This is fake, right? He lying to me. So already I was done with the dude. Then I said, hey, if you want to be my friend, I need you to call up because number two, another red flag happened. He's still living with the woman. That was another red flag. You talking about you want to divorce her. She's cheating on you with all these men, but you got recent photos cuddled up with her, and you still live with the woman. Red flag, y'all. See, you got to be that discerning. You got to ask and investigate before you get your heart involved, because these men and women are very cunning. I'm telling you, even myself, and I am very spiritual. I'm very strong. I'm very aware. And I'm usually able to read energy and get out and investigate. I investigate everything, and I question everything, and I inquire and I look. But even myself, as inquisitive as I am, I was almost sucked into it, y'all. It was so tempting, y'all. It was so tempting. But anyways, okay, I'm seeing all these red flags. It's just nothing's adding up. The final straw. So anyway, So I was like, you living with this woman, you got these recent photos. Before I hang out with you, I need you to call this woman and ask her if it's okay if I can hang out with you. Because I'm like, this ain't it. I don't date men who are married. I don't care if he's on the verge of a divorce. I need a finalized, certified court clerk documents. And me being an attorney, and I used to be a family law attorney, I already know what those documents look like. So I want to see that certified, finalized divorce papers. So I tell him, I want you to call your wife, put her on speakerphone, and I want to hear from her that it's okay that this myself, a woman that you're attracted to, can be your friend and hang out with you. Because I'm not about to hang out with you unless she approves. So he calls the woman, right? And the woman, of course, she's rude on the phone. She's like, and he asked her on speakerphone, he's like, hey, I got this woman here that I'm interested in. Um, can I hang out with her or whatever? And she's like, yeah, do what you got to do. I don't care. Do what you got to do and all this stuff. So then I'm like, okay, it sounds like they do have a rift in their relationship. She over here approving me hanging out with him. But I was like, this don't feel right. This is wrong. And I blocked that dude the next day. I'm sorry. I was out. I blocked the dude because I'm like, number one, he hasn't taken any subsequent action to divorce this woman. I don't see any papers filed. I asked him, I said, did you file for your petition? You said you want to divorce this woman. Did you file your petition? No, he hadn't filed it. Number one, he lying. Number two, he had a recent photo of her that he just took with her 2 weeks ago, the time I was dating him. Or not dating him, I didn't date him yet. I was just being his friend, basically. But I didn't even feel right being the guy's friend, y'all. But 2 weeks before I met the guy, he was already cuddled up with this girl. And number three, he's still living with her. And number four, the other red flag is how he married her within a month. That was like, this guy's impulsive. He can't really think rationally. He doesn't understand the importance of a covenant and really screening things before you just up and marry somebody. So you see how even myself, who is spiritually discerned, who can know the spirits, I myself, y'all, was almost sucked into some mess. But I just broke that down to you to let you see how you should be able to screen for these red flags. You need to be able to ask those questions. You need to see if they already filed for their petition. And before you even become their friend, y'all, you got to make sure you see evidence that that divorce papers is finalized before you get involved. Don't even be their friend because it just creates this conflict of interest if they're attracted to you. Something's bound to happen. I didn't even want to get involved. I closed the door and I blocked that dude and I'm done. So I'm just telling you, even if it sounds so good on paper to avoid these type of affairs and situations, you can get sucked into some mess because they're so convincing and are so charming. And that's how the enemy is. He's so smooth with the words. He's so slick with it. And he can con anybody into some mess. So ask the questions, make sure the divorce is finalized before you even become their friend. Don't hang out with them because it creates this conflict of interest. The emotions can get involved. And once you become so attached to the person, you can be sucked into some mess. It doesn't matter how old you are or young you are or whatever. All right, guys, sorry I've talked to you long enough, but I thought this was an important story to warn my fellow subscribers out here to be careful in these streets. Don't get involved with married men or women. It always ends bad. Love you so much, guys. Take care. Good night.